get it going. What's up, fellas? This is Flex. Want to give a shout out to all my league mates. This is the Fantasy Flex. Bringing it to you guys every week. Bringing it to you guys live. If you guys are on the clock right now, whatever. But let's get into it. Standings. You guys already know the format. It's gonna go a little something like this. Hank Aaron. That division, you still got the bench player on top. 44, 23, and 8. Then you got the Toronto Bandits, 8 games back, 8 categories back, 38, 33, and 4. Then you got VKL, 30, 40, and 5, 15 and a half categories back, followed by the Willow Warriors with a 29, 40, and 6 record, 16 games back for the Warriors. Now we move on over to the Nolan Ryan division. Tide still rolling in that division, 41, 28, and 6. Then you got the Say Hey Kids, 7.5 cats back with 34, 36, and 5 record, followed by the Giants with a 30, 38, and 7 record, 10.5 back in the division. And then you got that followed up by the St. Louis Redbirds, 23, 43, and 9, 16.5 back in his division. Now we move on over to the Mickey Mantle division, home of yours truly. Let's see what's going on there. Guess I'm going to have to get on myself. You got T.I., 41, 26, and 8. Leading that division strong, still holding it down, but being closely followed by the Marlins and the Toronto Hard Knocks. The Florida Marlins got a 37, 32, and 6 record. He's 5 back. The Toronto Hard Knocks are now 5.5 back after being last place last week. As a matter of fact, the Toronto Hard Knocks knocked me down to last place, so they was knocking hard and they put me down there. My record is now 29, 41, and 29, 41, and 5. I'm 13.5 back, so I need a good week. I'm not shooting right now. My clip is empty, but enough excuses. Let's get it going. Let's get into last week's matchups. Like I said, I got knocked down pretty hard. Toronto Hard Knocks took on the Pistols, 12-2-1. I got to do better if I want to creep up my standings. Next matchup, the second team from Toronto, you got the Toronto Bandits taking on the Willow Warriors. Warriors taking that matchup, so, I mean, bad week for good teams, I guess you could say. 12-3, the Warriors taking that matchup. The Battle of the Letters, folks. I just coined that when I was writing out the script. The Battle of the Letters. Basically, it goes like this. VKL taking on T.I., leader in that matchup. T.I. smashed it, 13, 1-1. That's going up to the third matchup of the week, or the fourth matchup of the week, I'm sorry. Seeking a win, the Redbirds finally got one. 7-6-2, close matchup of the week, taking on the bench player, so that's a quality win right there, moving up in the standings. Followed by the Giants taking on the Say Hey Kids. The Giants went over, said hey, and took out the kids, man, 9-5-1. So that went to the Giants. Say Hey Kids looking to bounce back this week. So moving on up to the next matchup, you got the Tides taking on the Marlins. Like I said, the Tides been rolling high all year long, but in this matchup, it was low tide, folks. They took on the Marlins. Scoring that one was 10-4-1. The Marlins taking out the Tide. Guess what, man? The Marlins live in the water, baby. So that's what happened last week. Take him out in his own habitat. It wasn't happening. And then we're gonna go on up to the Week 6 previews. It's the previews of the matchups that are gonna start going on today. So go ahead and check out your scoreboard tabs. This will be all the matchups. Throw the records out there. Throw who's playing out who. You got the 29, 41, and 5 Pistols. Basically the scrapper, the bottom of my division, myself, taking on the leader of the division, Team T.I., with his record of 41, 26, and 8. If I need a big week, it's going to be a hard dude to get it against. Following matchup, you got the Giants with a record of 30, 38, and 7, taking on a matchup, taking on the Bandits with the 38, 33, and 4 record. It's going to be a good matchup, folks. Let's see what happens. Following that matchup, you got VKL looking to bounce back from a bad week, taking on the Toronto Hard Knocks, man. Like I said, they knocked me down in the division. They got a solid team, man. I just couldn't catch up. That team gets rolling. Watch out. Standings will change up. Hard Knocks record is now 36, 32, and 7. So he went from being below 500 to coming above. So shout out to the Hard Knocks. Good ball playing, good picks. Good way to keep active. Following matchup, you got the 41, 28, and 6 Tides taking on the 44, 23, and 8 bench player. Another heavyweight matchup. I mean, both teams got records up in the 40s. They got 40 categories on the year. So, good matchup. Good teams. See what happens. Two #1 division standings right now, or two leaders in their divisions respectively. 37, 32, and 6 Marlins taking on the Redbirds. 23, 43, and 9. So Redbirds looking to fly high again this week. The Say Hey Kids with a 34, 36, and 5 record, looking to turn it around against the Willard Warriors. 29, 40, and 6. Warriors are looking to get some categories. Say Hey Kids are active, so it's a quality team to go against to get them categories against. Moving on up, these are the league leaders for the league so far throughout the first 5 weeks. The runs, that's going to the Tides. He's got 214 runs on the year. Home runs, that's going to T.I. with 58 home runs on the year so far. Followed by T.I. again with the total bases category. He's got 620 total bases on the year. Followed again, once again, by T.I. with the RBI category. 204 on the year so far. Base on balls or walks, that's going to the Bandits. He's got 166 base on balls this year so far. Followed by the stolen bases. That's going to get split between the Marlins and the Say Hey Kids. They both got 46 stolen bases on the year so far. And then we go on up to the average. Average right now is going to the bench player. He's got a 393 average throughout the first 5 weeks of the year. Followed by defensive assist. The Tides got that category with 439 defensive assists on the year so far. Moving on to my favorite category now, we got the pitching category. That's going up to myself, the Pistols, with strikeouts. 412 strikeouts on the year so far. Complete games, I solely hold that category now with 4 complete games. There's, I think, 2 other teams tied up with 3. Wins, that's going to the Pistols with 31 wins. Saves, that's going to the bench player. He's got 24 saves on the year. ERA, that's going to the Bandits. He's got a 3.13 ERA on the year, followed by the whip. That's going over to the bench player. So for the first time in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, the whip and the ERA are not going hand in hand. The bench player takes that category with a 1.20 or a 120 whip, followed by the last category in our league, strikeouts per walks ratio. That's going to the Say Hey Kids. He's got the 2.7 strikeouts per walk ratio this week. That's how that's going. Final part of the show. Let's get into it. My man hasn't handed out the trophies yet, so I went ahead and did the nominees again. Should be pretty straightforward. I think we only had like an issue in 1 trophy, so let's get up into it. Trophies, the Ricky, aka Get That Man trophy with the most stolen bases on the week. That's going to the Redbirds. He had 10 stolen bases. The Ryan trophy, aka Another One Bites the Dust. That's going to the Giants. 101 strikeouts on the week. That's heavy, dogs. Moving on up to the Griffey Trophy, aka Gone. That's going to the Warriors. He had 14 home runs on last week's matchups. Ruth, aka Hits Hooray. That's going to the Giants as well. He's got a 300 or 306 average last week. The Goose, aka Tum Tums Rolades. That's a trophy nominee right there. That's going to get split between the Warriors and the Marlins. They both had 7 saves on last week. I don't know how my man James is going to distribute the trophy if he gives them both out, but those are the stats for last week, so are the nominees for that one particular trophy. The Gidry, aka Shut 'Em Down trophy. That's going to the Hard Knocks. He just beat out the Say Hey Kids by like a 1/10 of a point. The Hard Knocks had a 2.94 ERA. The Hard Knocks had a 2.941 ERA, so 1/10 of a point. The Gidgy trophy looks like it's going to go to the Hard Knocks. But I nominated both of them anyway. I gave them an honorable mention, if you want to say. And the Maze, aka the Buck Stops Here, going out to the Hard Knocks, man. Like I said, the Hard Knocks knocked hard last week. They knocked me down to the bottom of my division. They're rolling hard. I mean, they got that name for a reason. So watch out. He had 105 defensive assists last week. This is the Fantasy Flex. Only got a couple secs left. Almost a 10-minute show. Want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is Flex. I'm out. See you next week.